welcome to the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast, off-season edition. I am Brandon Jadich. I'm your host for today. A lot of movement going on in the transfer portal as we expect. Transfer portal officially closes May 1st, so bear in mind you can still, as long as you're in the transfer portal, you can commit to another team. That doesn't mean these players need to commit to a team right on May 1st. As long as you're in the portal, the ongoing process will continue, but the players have until May 1st to get in the portal. So we're going to have another busy week. On today's show, we're going to talk about just some of the big movements that happened this last week. Indiana had a great week. Kansas had a great week. Memphis had a great week. So did Michigan. We're going to talk about all these teams, who some of the commits were. We're going to talk about some of the transfer portal rankings. 247 Sports is going to be our source for today. They rank 1 through 10, 1 through as many teams as there are, but we're going to talk about the top 10 teams, top 10 uncommitted players, top 10 committed players already, according to some of their lists, so that's going to be kind of cool to look at. And then we're going to talk about some of the blue blood teams, looking at some of their projected lineups next year. We want to talk about who number one might be next year going into the 2024-2025 season. It's always one of the blue bloods, it seems. It's always the Kansas, Duke, UCLA, Kentucky. One of these teams, it usually comes down to that. Even throw UConn in that conversation. Will it end up being UConn? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of their projected lineups, 1 through 7 or 8, and just about all of them. Then we're going to release our way too early top 25 part 2. We released our part 1. Part 2 is going to look completely different than our part 1 just because, it's just constantly changing. And then finally, to close out the show, we're going to talk about just some of the updated odds for the national champion of the 2024-2025 NBA season. We're going to talk about some of the teams that are heavy favorites and who we might recommend betting, might not. But first, before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, go down, smash the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Keep this going, keep it growing, getting great interactions on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you want to check those out, check that out at Bracket Science 2S as we try and respond to as many people as that comment on all our posts on there. So go check that out. Smash the subscribe, like, let us know you're here. Comment your feelings. Really love just communicating with everyone there. With that being said, let's dive right into it. We're going to go through just some of the notable movements before we get into some of the rankings. The ranking is going to be the highlight of the show, but let's just talk about some of the movements that happened since the last time that we talked. Just going to go down the list, kind of out of order, but sort of in order, just put together. Oumar Ballo from Arizona officially committed to Indiana, as did Miles Rice from Washington State, as did Kanan Carlisle from Stanford. Pretty good pickups for Indiana. All three of them officially committed. AJ Storr made big headlines transferring from Wisconsin to Kansas. This was an interesting one. A lot of people thought Illinois, but I guess AJ Storr was asking a lot more money than that. AJ Storr, this will be his second time transferring. There was remember Spike Ulbrich from Michigan years and years ago. He had a tweet that kind of went a little bit viral. They kind of went through AJ Storr. Someone posted AJ Storr's just all his high school teams he played for, now all the college teams he played for, just kind of going from one school to another. Spike Ulbrich, you might remember he was rumored to be dating Kate Upton. Was it ever true? We don't know. This was way back in time with Nick Stauskas back then. He put out a tweet. He's like, I personally wouldn't want this player playing for me. And it got a lot of hate. Transferring all over the place. Now the latest being Wisconsin to Kansas. AJ Storr is a phenomenal athlete. He is quick. He's fast. I've been saying this a lot about him, though. I think he's a little bit greedy in terms of, just in terms of his basketball play. I'm not going to judge his character or anything, but just forces up a lot of shots. I know it was Wisconsin. They kind of had to rely on him. Not the most athletic team. AJ Storr is very athletic. But moving to Kansas, I think Bill Self is going to have to get him under control. As soon as this happened, everyone's like, all right, Kansas preseason number 1. I don't think so yet. I do have them high, but it's not because of AJ Storr. The rest of their lineup is great. I'm curious to see, and I would not be surprised if AJ Storr hurts more than he helps this Kansas team, and if he ends up just maybe coming off the bench or something. I don't know. He's got a lot of adjustments to make. Obviously Kansas every year, one of the top teams in assists in college basketball. AJ Storr, that's not going to come from him. So he's going to have to make some adjustments. If he can fit in, it's a terrific pickup. Crazy athletic, can jump out of the gym. As a Kansas fan, not so sure. Not so sure about this one. As soon as I saw it, I was actually a little bit disappointed, but we'll see what this means going forward. I think there can be some positives from it. Obviously, great talent, great talent. But we'll see going forward. Moving on, Terrace Reed moving from Michigan to UConn, adding more size to what Dan Hurley likes to do there. They now have 3 guys over 6'10". We're not going to talk about that now. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Aiden Holloway, point guard from Auburn, transferring to Alabama. Yikes, that's got to be frowned upon. He's got to be the most hated man in Auburn right now, going to the rivalry school. Danny Wolf going from Yale to Michigan, officially committed to Michigan. So is Trey Donaldson going from Auburn to Michigan. Roddy Gale going from Ohio State to Michigan. Yikes, why are we transferring to rival schools? If you play at Ohio State and you play at Auburn, you hate Alabama and Michigan. You hate them. Why are you transferring to their school? That's weird to me. Maybe they're offering you a ton of money, but maybe they obviously didn't hate them when they're at Ohio State and at Auburn. Maybe that's a little bit of a character thing there, but we'll see. Robbie Avila officially committed from Indiana State to St. Louis following Josh Schertz, head coach over there. I think that is a great move. Zvonimir Ivisic finally transferred to Arkansas. He's the first player on their roster, believe it or not, transferring from Kentucky to Arkansas following Coach Calipari. Malik Mack from Harvard officially committed to Georgetown. Micah Parrish, kind of a surprising one here. He was on that San Diego State team the last 2 years. He's going to Ohio State. Big pickup for the Buckeyes there. Dre Davis from Seton Hall officially committed to Ole Miss. Chris Beard has done a great job in the portal this year. Tremont Mark going from Arkansas to Texas was set off just a complete chain of events. Tyrese Hunter, Texas's point guard, officially entered the transfer portal and is now committed already to Memphis. That was just a quick thing. Penny Hardaway also doing a great job in the portal. Dylan Mitchell is also transferring from Texas, has not committed anywhere yet. So Texas lineup, complete different outlook than last year. Aiden Mahaney transferring from St. Mary's. This was a surprising one. He's a great player, great shooter. Just that hometown kid, always wanted to play for St. Mary's, so it was weird to see him go. Rumor has it he's visiting Virginia right now. That would be a great fit. As soon as I saw it, I got really excited. I think he would do great at St. Mary's, or at Virginia from St. Mary's, excuse me. Devion Smith from Utah. This is one of the players I'm most excited about to see what he can do from last year to this year, because if you don't know him, he might be the fastest player in college basketball. Terrence Shannon was there last year. Devion Smith is so fast. Every time I watched him, I'm like, man, get him out of Utah, get him to Kentucky, get him to Duke, get him somewhere. So I hope he commits to a blue blood school, something like that. I think he'd be a lot of fun to watch at a power conference, maybe even go to somewhere like, I want to say in Illinois, but Illinois already got a lot of transfers in, but somewhere in the Big Ten, I think he'd fit in just well. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. Maybe Wisconsin, because next person we're going to talk about is Chucky Hepburn, who is transferring from Wisconsin. That was an interesting one, but he's moving on. Luke Goody transferring from Illinois after they brought in all these guards. I don't really blame him. He might have, he kind of wants to be the star, and so should anyone, but he is thinking of transferring to Indiana, is what I heard. He's supposed to go on a visit to Indiana, so just kind of not a far journey there, but we'll see how he fits in with that Indiana team, which is just completely different from last year. Felix Okpara transferring from Ohio State, don't know where to yet. The addition of Aaron Bradshaw kind of going to limit Okpara's playing time. He's transferring out of there. Desmond Claude from Xavier, didn't want to see this happen. I was very excited about Xavier this year. I still am, but Desmond Claude would have been a nice piece. We'll see where he ends up. A few other ones we're going to note. Jonas Adu transferring from Tennessee. I think we mentioned that on the last show, but he did pick up a crystal ball to Baylor. And this is important because Jeremy Roach, Duke's point guard, did commit to Baylor. Duke's lineup is basically all the way in the transfer portal from last year. Remember, John Shire didn't lose anyone last year. Now it's just about everyone. Mark Mitchell moving on to Missouri. Jalen Blake's in the transfer portal. Sean Stewart, TJ Power, Jaden Shutt, Christian Reeves, all in the transfer portal from Duke. So Duke's lineup going to be a little bit different, yet we'll mention Duke here in a little bit, and you might be surprised at what they are ranked in terms of the updated odds for next year's champion. All right, next. That's it. That's it. That's all the movement we had this last week. I know there's tons of other players out there. These are just some of the ones I wanted to touch base on. But now we're going to talk about what this meant for some of the portal rankings. They rank, as we mentioned, 247 Sports ranks teams on what what they've done in the transfer portal so far. Number one is Indiana. Indiana has had the best transfer portal. Now we heard they just dished a ton of money off. Umar Ballo is rumored to get like $1.2 million in NIL money. That's ridiculous. I mean, Umar Ballo is big. That's all I'm going to say about him. I don't think he's that skilled. I think he's just big. He is the number one rated transfer. I personally would have him 10th, probably somewhere around there. He's number one rated at 247 Sports. I don't agree with it, but it is a good addition. He's 5-star. He's a big guy. He can help. My question is, if Indiana couldn't win with Khalil Ware, why would you win with Umar Ballo? Their struggle last year was shooting. Khalil Ware could extend and shoot the three. Umar Ballo is like the worst free throw shooter in the country. It is awful to watch. But so Indiana's number one with Umar Ballo, Miles Rice, we mentioned, and Kanan Carlisle. Those are the only three. They only have three. That shows just how high rated all three of these are. Their lineup, they're going to get a lot of people on their bandwagon this year. We're going to see, though. I'm not bought in yet. We're going to see. Number two is Kansas. Kansas second in the portal rankings right now. The addition of AJ Storr, we mentioned. The addition of Zeke Mayo and Riley Kugel. Now, they are losing Arterio Morris to the transfer portal. Just something to note there. Remember his whole debacle last year. We're not even going to get into that. He's gone. We'll see where he ends up. Probably some mid-major. UCLA, third. UCLA has done a great job. Mick Cronin has done a great job. They've got a couple people leaving. Will McClendon, I wish he would have stayed. I think he's got some talent, but we're not going to discuss that. Incoming, we have Kobe Johnson. That's their biggest one from USC to UCLA. Yeah, maybe that's a little frowned upon too. Sky Clark, Louisville's pretty much only good player last year, transferring in as well as their point guard. This will be nice. A little coexist with Sebastian Mack in there. Eric Daly from Oklahoma State committed, and then Tyler Bilodeau from Oregon State also committed. So they're Mick Cronin seems to be going. He's staying in the power conferences, but going to the lower level power conference, the guys that want to play on some better teams. I think UCLA is going to be good this year. I do think Mick Cronin's a good coach. They didn't have it last year, and sometimes that happens. Look at North Carolina 2 years ago. They didn't mesh. It happens. I'm in on UCLA as of right now. Fourth, we have Memphis. Memphis, 5 commits from the transfer portal already. Remember, Dane Danger transferred earlier. PJ Haggerty is a great pickup from Tulsa. Tyrese Hunter, Baraka Okije from George Mason, and then Colby Rogers also transferring in. So this is a pretty good lineup. This is exactly what happened last year, though. This is exactly what Memphis did. They brought in great recruits from the transfer portal. They got to mesh. They didn't mesh last year. We'll see if they mesh. Tyrese Hunter is a big pickup. That's a good one, along with PJ Haggerty. Those are two players that'll make a big difference in that Memphis program. Now, Michigan, also with 5 commits. I mean, Dusty May just cooking in the transfer portal. We already mentioned Roddy Gale going from Ohio State, Trey Donaldson going from Auburn, Danny Wolf going from Yale, also Reuben Jones going from North Texas, and then Sam Walters. Remember Sam Walters from Alabama last year? He also committed to Michigan. So this is going to be a fun team to watch. Now, remember, they are losing Terrence Williams, Terrace Reed, and Doug McDaniel, excuse me. So Rebuild Dusty May. Michigan was pathetic last year. Rebuild. Get your guys in there that you want. We do think that Vladimir Golden Vladislav Golden and John L. Davis might go to Michigan. So we're gonna have to see there. Elijah Martin did already commit to Florida. That's another one we should probably mention. He's lower ranked, but we thought he was going to go to Michigan. He's going to Florida, staying in Florida from Florida Atlantic. Missouri, number 6 in the transfer rankings. Bet you didn't think you'd ever hear that. They got 4 commits. I mean, they didn't win a game in the SEC last year. They're going to win a game in the SEC this year. I can promise you that. Mark Mitchell going from Duke to there. Tony Perkins, who I love, by the way, going from Iowa to there. I think Tony Perkins really underappreciated. Marquez Warwick and Jacob Cruz both also joining those two. They are losing Jordan Butler, their big guy, to South Carolina this year. So they're going to win a game, I promise. Missouri going to win a game this year. Illinois, 7th as of right now. Their 4 commits. Remember Kylan Boswell. They got in Trey White from Louisville. Yeah, okay. We'll see how we're going to see about that one. Jake Davis and then Kerry Booth. Jake Davis coming from I'm not sure where he's coming from. I can't remember. Kerry Booth coming from Notre Dame, though. Kerry Booth, pretty good pickup there. I like that one. They are losing a lot, though. They're losing Luke Goody, as we mentioned. Amani Hansberry and Sincere Harris are both going to West Virginia. Dane Danger, we already mentioned, going over to Memphis. So something to keep an eye on there. Moving on. Alabama, 8th in the transfer portal as of right now. Done a pretty good job. I mean, anytime Nate Oates does something, it seems to be a pretty good job, it seems. They are losing quite a bit. They're losing Nick Pringle is in the transfer portal. We already mentioned Sam Walters, Devin Cosby, Rylan Griffin. Looks like he's might end up at Kansas, is what I'm hearing. Not a for sure thing, but we're gonna see. Now, bear in mind that we're recording this at 9:00 on Tuesday, so things might change by the time you hear this. But Rylan Griffin, I thought he was gonna stay. He loves Nate Oates. I don't know why he's going. I wish he would stay. And then Chris Parker also transferring out. They are getting in Chris Youngblood from USF, Houston Millette from Pepperdine, and then Aiden Holloway, as we mentioned earlier, is coming from Auburn. So that's Alabama's outlook so far this year. Moving on, number 9, Ole Miss. Ole Miss right there, as we mentioned, Chris Beard doing a fairly good job. Got Malik Dia coming in. Michael Brown Jones coming in from UNC Greensboro. Dre Davis, we already mentioned, coming in from Seton Hall. They did, Musa Cisse did also enter the transfer portal. If you remember Musa Cisse, thought he was going to be a long-term guy there at Ole Miss. Doesn't seem to be the case. The final team we're going to talk about, 10th, Ohio State. Ohio State done a great job. Michi Johnson coming back. He was there earlier, transferred to South Carolina, made a name of himself, and he's back. So obviously that just kind of shows what they want with Jake Diebler. Everyone seems to... All his players seem to love Jake Diebler. We mentioned Aaron Bradshaw going from Kentucky to Ohio State, and Micah Parrish also coming in from San Diego State. Now they are losing quite a few guys. Felix Okpara, as we mentioned, transferring. Zed Key transferring to Dayton. Roddy Gale, go to Michigan. Scotty Middleton also in the portal, and then Bowen Hardman. Probably don't know that name. So that's it. That's the top 10. That's some of the team players that they're winning or that they're bringing in, some of the guys that they're losing. That's the top 10 teams. Let's talk about the top 10 players. We already talked about pretty much, actually, I think we talked about every single one of them, but just want to give you a little visual. If you're watching on YouTube, these visuals are all pulled up. Give you a little visual of what some of the rankings are in terms of player-wise. Umar Ballo, as we mentioned, is number 1 from Arizona to Indiana. AJ Storr is number 2 from Wisconsin to Kansas. Tucker DeVries, number 3 from Drake to West Virginia. West Virginia going to have an interesting little lineup. Tucker DeVries and Sincere Harris. That might be a fun team to watch. Kobe Johnson from South California. It is USC to UCLA. Mark Mitchell from Duke to Missouri at number 5. Kanan Carlisle is 6th. From Stanford to Indiana. Zeke Mayo from South Dakota State to Kansas. Miles Rice from Washington State to Indiana. Danny Wolf from Yale to Michigan. Malik Mack from Harvard to Georgetown. Now, bear in mind, Jeremy Roach would be in here. I made this graphic before Jeremy Roach officially committed, so he would be in here, just kind of in the in-between. And then some of the uncommitted freshmen that you want to, or uncommitted transfers that you want to look out for, who will be transferring soon. John L. Davis is number 1, as we mentioned, very talented for FAU. I hope he goes to Michigan. We'll see. Great Asabar, transferring from Utah State. Heard probably Kentucky, but not for sure yet. Javon Small, transferring from Oklahoma State. Clifford Omiori from Rutgers. Jonas Adu from Tennessee. Looking like he's going to Baylor. Tyrese Hunter on this list. He committed to Memphis. Get him off this list. Dylan Mitchell from Texas. Aiden Mahaney from St. Mary's. As we mentioned, we heard Virginia. Brandon Garrison from Oklahoma State. And then Adu Thiero from Kentucky. Will he go back to Kentucky is kind of what it seems like it's leaning toward. Maybe towards Arkansas. We'll see. Those are the rankings. Put a little visual on it. Top 10s of uncommitted, committed teams. That's what the transfer portal has happened so far. Next, we're going to talk about the blue blood check-in because we want to know who's going to be number 1 in the rankings next year. It probably won't even be a blue blood, but we're going to talk about that in our rankings. Let's start. We're going to talk about every blue blood that has ever been considered as a blue blood except Villanova. We're not going to throw Villanova in there because they still have Kyle Neptune as a coach. And when's the last time you heard anything from Villanova other than TJ Bamba entered the transfer portal? But other than that, they haven't gotten anyone. They haven't. I don't know. That it's kind of we're not going to talk about Villanova because there's nothing really to talk about. Let's start with Duke because Duke's the most interesting team probably for next year. I currently have them 9th in my rankings right now. Yes, I know that's a little low, but I'm not completely bought in yet. Their lineup looks like this as of right now. Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, Cooper Flagg, Malik Brown. He's a Syracuse transfer. Kamen Malak. Cooper Flagg, obviously the number 1 overall freshman recruit. I mean, one of the best talents we've seen in a long time on both sides of the ball. Kamen Malak is the 3rd overall recruit. They're going to be good. I'm confident in saying that they're going to be good. Tyrese Proctor and Caleb Foster are the ones that are going to have to, I mean, with Jeremy Roach leaving, they're going to need to step into a bigger role. Tyrese Proctor was so disappointing this year. I apologize if you love Tyrese Proctor, but he was disappointing this year. I know he had some injuries, but he's still just I mean, how many games did he have where he didn't score? They need him. Caleb Foster looks like he's going to be back. Decent player. Malik Brown, I think that was a good pickup from Syracuse. Their bench is also very good. It's very young. Isaiah Evans, 7th overall recruit. Pat Ngonga, 17th overall recruit. Con Nupel, 22nd overall recruit. So it's young. They have 5 freshmen inside the top 22. That's incredible. John Shire doing an incredible job. This is going to be a tough team to put together, though, I think. Led by, I mean, Tyrese Proctor is going to be your leader, and he was maybe the most disappointing player in college basketball last year. What does that mean? I think Caleb Foster is a great kid. He might step into that leadership role. We're going to see. I have them 9th in my rankings right now. Don't be surprised if they're preseason number 1, strictly because they have a guy named Cooper Flagg, who is everyone has heard of. He's spectacular, but we're going to see. Next, let's talk about Kansas. Kansas is not as young as Duke. They did well in the transfer portal, and I have them 2nd in my rankings right now. Now, I know I talk bad about AJ Storr, but the lineup looks like AJ Storr, DeJuan Harris, who is a great pass first point guard, and even a good scorer. I'd like to see him shoot a little more this year. Zeke Mayo, the transfer from South Dakota State. KJ Adams coming back, same with Hunter Dickinson. So that is a star lineup. I'm hearing anyone out who's putting them number 1. That's fine. I mean, this lineup is incredible. And then on the bench, you got Riley Kugel, the Florida transfer. Maybe Johnny Furphy. Heard rumors he might be back. I don't know. It's actually pretty incredible to me that Johnny Furphy is NBA talent right now, I guess. I don't know. I've seen him. He needs to put some meat on his bones. I don't blame him if he goes now because it's a weak recruiting class or a draft class. So he might be ranked higher this year than he would be next year because, I don't know. He can shoot it, but man, there's no way his game is NBA ready. So that's 7 deep there if Furphy comes back, where it's like, yeah, they got experience. There's not one freshman labeled here. You'll notice they will have some freshmen coming in, but these are the 7 that I think are going to be the minute leaders. So this is a star-studded team right here. As long as they can put the pieces together. I mean, Hunter Dickinson likes to get his numbers. AJ Storr likes to get his numbers. Same with even Zeke Mayo and Riley Kugel. Going to have to get Johnny Furphy shots. How will this team mesh? If anyone can do it, it's Bill Self. So I'm excited about this Kansas team for next year. Next, let's talk about North Carolina. North Carolina is currently 6th in our rankings. This is bearing that RJ Davis comes back. I think he will. I hope he does. RJ Davis, Elliot Cadeau, their point guard last year. Hopefully he can improve on his shooting. I think RJ Davis, if he comes back, will be the preseason player of the year, like Wooden Award player of the year out of everyone. I think he will have that honor. He's great. One of the best shooters pure shooters I've seen in the last couple of years. Seth Trimble, I know he's in the portal. Seth Trimble is in the portal. I think he's going to return. I think he's just kind of testing his waters. I heard he's going to return. I heard a rumor, at least. I hope he returns. I think he's good. I think he's underappreciated just because he came off the bench last year. I think he's good. Ian Jackson, the 16th overall recruit, big man. Jalen Washington also coming back. Nice footwork guy down low. Then on the bench, they will have Jalen Withers still, and then Drake Powell is the 13th overall recruit. That's a nice lineup. That's a good team. 1 through 7, that's a good team. Kentucky, not ranked because I have no clue what their roster is going to look like. They don't have a roster right now. So we can't really talk about Kentucky yet. I'm sure Mark Pope will put together a somewhat decent team, but they're not Going to be my rankings right now because they don't have much of a roster. UCLA. UCLA is currently 12th in my ranking as of right now. Yes, 12th. Before you say that, listen to this lineup. Sky Clark, Sebastian Mack. Sebastian Mack is a good player. Dylan Andrews, Kobe Johnson, that USC transfer, Eric Daly Jr., OK State transfer, Lazar Stefanovic coming off the bench, Ade Mara coming off the bench, Tyler Bilodeau. For those who don't know, I mean, this 1 through 8 is good players. You could swap out anyone in the starting lineup and with one of these bench guys, and it's good. That's 8 deep, a lot of talent. Kobe Johnson is an underappreciated basketball player. He's great. Sky Clark, I know you're thinking he came from Louisville. He can't be that good. He is good, and Sebastian Mack or Dylan Andrews was UCLA's best basketball player last year. They're both here. That's a good team. Eric Daly, one of the higher ranked transfers. This is a good basketball team. I have faith in Mick Cronin. I know he did some questionable things last year. I think they're still going to be good. UConn, defending back-to-back champions, currently 4th in my ranking. This isn't probably a top 4 roster, but they have a top 1 coach in the nation as of right now. Thinking their roster is going to be Hassan Diarra, who is an underappreciated part of their tournament run the last 2 years. Solomon Ball, remember Solomon Ball when Stephon Castle got hurt? Solomon Ball kind of stepped into a role. He's okay. He had a decent. He's a talent. I'll tell you that. He performed all right. I mean, he stepped into a role. He had a big game. I can't remember who it was against. It might have been North Carolina or someone where he had a really big game. Alex Caravan, I'm guessing, will be back. Just where else is he really? I mean, I know he's projected like 2nd round in most NBA drafts right now. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see. I hope he comes back just for the college game. Samson Johnson coming back. They're losing Donovan Clingan, obviously. Samson Johnson should step into a bigger role, although they did bring in Terrace Reed, as we mentioned. Samson Johnson, 6'10". Terrace Reed, 6'11", also like 270 pounds. Then on the bench, they got a guy named Yusuf Singer, 6'10". We'll see if he can step into a little bit of a bigger role, run 3 big men. Then they also have Ahmed Noel, 31st overall recruit, and then Jalen Stewart coming back. So this might not be the lineup, but we'll see what it looks like going forward. It's going to be a fun team to watch. You know, Dan Hurley's just going to figure it out. I heard Liam McNeely might be going to UConn as well. He's supposed to go on a visit. 5-star recruit. That would be a good one to kind of take over that. Great shooter would take over that Cam Spencer-like role. All right, Indiana. I know you're going to consider Indiana a blue blood, and you're going to be mad at me. I'm not ranking them until I am proven otherwise. I can't do it. They were so talented last year. Everyone's looking at their lineup this year. They're like, man, they got a great lineup. They had a great lineup last year, and they were not a good basketball team. I don't even know if they finished in the top 100 at KenPom. It was right around that 100 mark. They were not a good basketball team. Last year, who did they have as... they had Trey Galloway, Mackenzie Mbako, Khalil Ware, Malik Renew, Xavier Johnson. That's a great starting 5. You're going to say the same thing about them this year. It's just, can they mesh? They couldn't shoot the 3 last year. This year, it's going to look like Miles Rice, Trey Galloway, Mackenzie Mbako, Malik Renew, Umar Ballo. Khalil Ware was underappreciated. I think he was great. I wish he wouldn't have gone to Indiana. I wish he would have went somewhere else because I think he could have made a big impact. But this Indiana team, everyone's going to say, yeah, Trey Galloway and Mackenzie Mbako were pretty good scorers last year. They were pretty good scorers on a bad basketball team. I'm not that bought in on Trey Galloway. He shoots like 25% from 3. No good. Mackenzie Mbako is a good talent. I think he can improve a little bit. Malik Renew was also, he might have been their leading scorer last year. It was him or Ware. I can't remember. I apologize. But he's, once again, a good scorer on a bad basketball team. Doesn't have a lot of size, has some footwork. He likes to shoot those mid-range jumpers, which just don't really win you basketball games. I'm in on the lineup. They have talent 1 through 5, 1 through 6. Throw Kanan Carlisle on the bench as well, along with freshman Bryson Tucker, 17th overall recruit. Gabe Cupps, remember Gabe Cupps, good defender from last year. I don't think Gabe Cupps is going to see that much playing time unless he really improves. You never know. I think he'll be in kind of a similar role as he did last year. But number 1 transfer class. Where are they going to score? Where are they going to get their scoring? If Malik Renew is your leading scorer, you're not going to be that great of a basketball team. I'm just going to be so honest with you. Miles Rice might step in that role. Miles Rice is also not a great shooter. Trey Galloway is the most overrated basketball player in the Big Ten. I can confidently say that. Mbako's okay. Umar Ballo was a weak spot for Arizona in in their kind of disappointing little finish of the season. They just fouled him. He cannot make free throws. Cannot make free throws. If I'm playing against him, if he gets Aaron Bradshaw on him, foul him. Foul him all day. Just put in your bench player. Just foul him. Use every single foul you got. He's not going to make free throws unless he drastically improves. He's a sub 50% free throw shooter. We're going to see. I'm not ranking them. I know they're going to be in the AP top 25 preseason. They're going to be. If I had to predict, I'd say they'll be 22, 18 to 22, somewhere in there. I'm not ranking them until proven otherwise. I have to see this team mesh. I think Miles Rice is a good basketball player. I think Mackenzie Mbako has talent. Kanan Carlisle, pretty good. That's it. I'm not bought in on the rest of them. We're going to see. Hope they prove me wrong, because I love to see Indiana competing. Indiana deserves to be competing in basketball, but Mike Woodson's going to have to do something. Final one, I'm going to throw Michigan State in there. I'm going to consider Michigan State a blue blood, because some people might. I don't know. Just want to throw them in there. 21 overall in our rankings as of right now. The lineup looks, okay. Jeremy Fears, Trey Holloman, Jaden Akins, who I think is going to make a big step. Cohen Carr, Xavier Booker. On the bench, Carson Cooper. Carson Cooper will probably start, but I don't know who to swap him out with. And then Jace Richardson, 23rd overall recruit in this year's class. They'll be okay. We'll see if Tom Izzo can kind of redeem himself and make the Sweet 16 next year. That is it. Those are all the blue bloods that I think you can really consider blue bloods. I don't think you can really consider anyone else, I guess. But if you think so, comment below. I'll put them in the next show. Moving on to some of our rankings as of right now. Want to talk about, we mentioned all the blue bloods already. So who will that leave at number one? I still have Houston at number one. I think Houston's going to be really good. The transfer Milos Uzan, along with Emmanuel Sharp and LJ Cryer coming back, Javier Francis, and Juwan Roberts. That's a pretty experienced starting five. I think they're going to be. I think they'll be preseason number one in most polls. It'll be them or Kansas, and I do have Kansas number two. Alabama number three. Believe it or not, they have a great team coming back, and they have Nate Oates, who is incredible. Not going to go through all of these, just a few notable ones. Iowa State, we did move into the top five, have them at number five. Gonzaga at 7, returning a lot. And Baylor at number 8. Maybe see Baylor continue to climb. If they get Jonas Adu, I mean, wow. Jeremy Roach, Jaden Nunn, Langston Love, Jonas Adu in there. Whew, that's a star-studded lineup. That might move them into the top 5. That's really good. We mentioned Duke at 9, then Tennessee at 10 wraps up the top 10. Few other interesting teams just in here for us, at least. Cincinnati had a nice team last year. I thought that you could tell they were on the verge of being good. This is kind of my bold pick as of right now. Got Cincinnati at 16. They got Day Thomas in there and Jigel James. 2 pretty solid guards. I'm excited to see what Cincinnati can do next year. Florida up to 13 with Walter Clayton Jr. Gonna take them to infinity and beyond this year. I have faith in Florida this year. I had Arizona up, and then I figured out why. I'm like, why did I have them so high? I moved them down to 17. Tommy Lloyd has not won a big game yet, so I moved them down. We're gonna see. They're gonna have to prove me wrong this year. I'm done taking them to advance far in the NCAA tournament. Xavier at 19. We mentioned Xavier. Ohio State at 20. I'm hoping. I think they got something good there. It's just going to be, can Jake Diebler get the job done? Miami at 23. Miami's going to be interesting to watch this year. They have so much talent. Got like a top 5 overall recruit coming in, Jaleel Bethea. Got Nigel Pack coming back, Wooga Poplar, Matthew Cleveland, along with the addition of Lynn Kidd. It's going to be an interesting team to watch. They didn't mesh last year, but the year before they made the Final Four. The year before that, they made the Elite 8. We're going to see. I have them 23. Michigan at 24. That transfer team, Dusty May, we'll see what they can do. Clemson at 25. This is thinking they're going to bring back some of their stars. Rutgers 26, Seton Hall 27, Texas Tech 28, St. Mary's 29, St. John's at 30. Some of the teams I considered, I can't throw Creighton in yet. I don't think Trey Alexander is going to return. I know it seems like it's trending that way. I don't know why he would. If I was in his stance, I wouldn't, but I don't know why he would. We'll see with Kalkbrenner as well. I haven't ranked them yet because, I mean, it's April 23rd. I'm strictly making a prediction. I'm predicting that Alexander and Kalkbrenner don't come back. Just a prediction. It means nothing. But also have Maryland on there, Boise State, Indiana is on there, Wisconsin, Oregon, Providence, and Dayton. Those are some of the teams that I did consider, but didn't end up putting them on there. All right, let's move into the national championship odds as of right now. Duke is first at plus 1,000. These odds are via FANATICS Sportsbook, bear in mind. They are plus 1,000 right now, which I think is way too low. I would not buy into that. Kansas is second at plus 1,100. UConn at plus 1,200. Pretty impressive. I mean, how can you go wrong betting UConn? I mean, Dan Hurley, he's proven he can do it. Alabama at plus 1,500. So is North Carolina and Houston. I would consider betting all three of those at plus 1,500. I think those are pretty good odds. Arizona at plus 2,000. No thanks. Move along. Baylor plus 2,500. Same with Gonzaga at plus 2,500. Those are pretty good odds. I like both of those odds as well. In fact, I did place a Baylor bet already, just thinking that Adu's coming. Jeremy Roach, Langston Love, Jaden Nunn. That is a beautiful, beautiful lineup. Same goes for Gonzaga. They're returning just about everyone. Kentucky plus 2,500 as well. Don't even have a roster. Don't bet them yet. Iowa State plus 2,700 as of right now. That's also very good value right now. I think they're going to be a preseason top 10 team. That's pretty good value, plus 2,700. Arkansas at plus 3,000. They also don't have a roster. Auburn also at plus 3,000. Jonai Broom returning, by the way. Yes, it's 36 minutes into the show, and I'm just now saying Jonai Broom return. That is a big thing for Bruce Pearl's squad over at Auburn, although they did lose a little bit over there. But that's plus 1,000 through plus 3,000. We're not going to go through every single team. Those are just some of the best odds. As of right now, who we'd consider, who we wouldn't. And that's actually going to do it for the show. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of insight, some of the rankings. I love to put rankings on everything. It just makes it more fun. Just highly debatable stuff on everything. Same with just these transfer rankings. Makes it cool. I'm glad. Shout out 247 Sports for doing that. You can go through and look at how just about every team is doing in terms of commit. DePaul is 29th, by the way. Good for Chris Holtman and DePaul. So that's going to do it. Before I lose you, go down, please subscribe once again, hit the like button, comment. Who are you thinking? Do you think Indiana is a top 10 team? Do you think Indiana's top 20? Or are you with me and think, yeah, they need some shooting. Still have Mike Woodson. We'll see. Who's your preseason number one? Is it Kansas? Is it Houston? Are you going Duke? You going UConn? How can you go against UConn? We'll see. Would you even throw Baylor in that conversation if they get Jonas Adu? It's all very opinionated. We're getting there. We're going to keep getting closer and closer to the season every time we talk. Very exciting stuff. We have a lot of offseason stuff to talk about because of the transfer portal, so that's always pretty nice. So that's it. Everyone have a great rest of their week. Hopefully you're enjoying all this college basketball, just nonsense going on. Have a great week. See you later.